So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the very first resource provider webinar that Streams is producing. For those who don't know, Streams is a website which has been set up by myself and 3 other home educators who felt there was a need for a slightly different kind of support resource out there. If you pop along to this Streams website, you'll see at the moment we have a lot of stories and reviews, and the idea behind those is that people can share their own stories and encourage one another on their home education journey, and also to have home educator reviewed resources, so people are actually getting it straight from those who home educate. So Streams operates as a member website, so you can sign up as a member, and once you're a member, you can share your own stories and resources. Joe, I'm going to actually ask you just to share a little bit.
Yes, so we invite people to join us on the website and sign up as a membership or sign up for a newsletter. And on there, you will find a growing list of resources and a growing list of, sorry, forgive me admitting, a growing list of stories as well. And what we know from our own personal experience is that reading stories of other home educators who've gone before you, understanding some of the challenges that we all face, is a really helpful. I just find it really uplifting. It really encourages you on those challenging days. And then, as we're all aware, the home ed world works very much on word of mouth. And so how do we gather all that knowledge of, well, I've tried this resource, I've used this resource, and it's brilliant and it works for my family. How do we start gathering that information where we can share the ever-growing number of resources that are out there? Because we know that in our modern tech day, the resource list just keeps growing. No longer we're just going to the library for books, but we're looking online. We're finding so many different resources. So we invite you to come join us, to come share a review of a resource that you use. We invite you to come share a story, a good day or a bad day, a day you survived, a day you thrived in, or a day where you actually really saw that home ed made an impact on your kids. And we all live with that on a weekly basis, those moments of joy, those moments of celebration. But also, if we're honest, those moments of panic too. So we do invite you to come be real, to come share. You can follow us on social media. Matt, who's on this call as well, does a fantastic job at keeping Streams followers up to date with posts, reviews, news stories. We're really trying to keep a handle with all Juliet's experience in terms of what's out there in the news and how that world's changing quite rapidly as the government looks to keeping an eye on us, perhaps, as home educators. So it's absolutely fantastic having Alastair with us today.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. I'm okay now, I think. So our website is streams.education. Please go and pop along and have a look. We do plan in future on having a lot more member content. So today, Alastair will have a special offer on who those attending this talk can access that special offer, and then it will go to our members only. It won't be shared beyond that. So we would encourage you to come along and check us out and chat to any of us if you have any questions. We hope this will be a great resource for home educators. So I want to, I'm going to take you off there, Joe, now. So I want to introduce to you Alastair Lawson. And Alastair manages, I suppose, what I would call the home education department of Twinkl. Do you have a department there, Alastair?
We call ourselves a team. So yeah, I guess we're the home ed team. Good, within Twinkl. We feel very privileged, really. I think most of us, and certainly I do myself, to be in this position where we've got the backing of a major resource company to do good stuff and useful stuff for home educating families. So it's a really exciting role. Lots of us on the team are home educating parents, and I think we're all driven by that goal to help home educating families. It's what gets us out of bed in the morning, and when we're able to do that, we feel really good about it.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Alison. And you are a home educating parent yourself, right?
I am. Yeah, we've got three kids at home. it's not always easy working and home educating and, you know, making sure everything kind of works. But yeah, that's what we do.
I want to ask you just to share a little bit about your personal journey, how you started home educating and what it's meant to you as a family.
I think it was my wife that, I think my wife was always a kind of natural home educator. She was, you know, very into sort of attachment parenting when we first started our family, and she didn't really see the logic in sending our children off to be in somebody else's care for the majority of their waking hours. And she, you know, helped me to see the sense in it. I think we sent our eldest to school for the first year despite that, because we were still kind of being carried along by the norm and what other people did. And we knew that he had some special needs. He went into school, and I think the defining moment for us was when we went in for a parents' evening, and we knew that there were some things he found difficult, but the teacher hadn't picked up on that at all. And, you know, her comments were along the lines of, oh, I don't really notice him, you know, he seems fine to me. And for us, that was just the end of the road, because, you know, we knew that there were things he had issues with. So, you know, for his primary care in that school situation to not have even noticed that, let alone being able to do anything to address it and help him with it, we just thought, no, we'll keep him at home. So yeah, I guess that's when our journey began. We had have had two more children since. They love home ed. We have had to have them. We're both trained teachers. We did have a little kind of hiatus, a spell abroad in Thailand recently, where we worked as teachers in international schools. So the children did do a little bit of time back in school, but now we're back in the UK. They've been out of school for 3 years now, and I don't think we've got any chance of ever getting them back into school, even if we wanted to.
Yeah, it is definitely a lifestyle. So thanks for that, Alastair. I think it helps if people understand your own personal story as well. So what I'd like to, I think most of us would like to know, is a little bit of the background to Twinkl. Who set up Twinkl? Why did they set it up? What are they hoping to achieve?
Yeah, so Twinkl is kind of led by the central mission to help those who teach, which is fantastic, because it means that all of us that work for different segments of the company, you know, whoever it is, our primary customer group is, whether it's teachers or home educators, that's something we can really get behind and understand. The company was set up by a couple, John and Susie Seaton, about 11 years ago now. And I think it just came about because Susie, who was a teacher at the time, was looking for some resources to use in class, I think on a Sunday evening to use in class the next Monday, and couldn't really find what she was looking for, and couldn't find anybody that was really offering a service to provide it. So it was a bit of a light bulb moment. That stuff isn't there. Let's do it ourselves. And if you sort of fast forward 11 years on, Twinkl now has, I think, approaching 1,800 employees. It's a huge success story. It's a global company. And, you know, because of the way it's been built up, it's been able to do, you know, really excel itself in terms of helping people that teach. It was made free for school parents during the pandemic, during the school closures. And so we're just able to help in lots and lots of new ways every day.
Thanks, Alastair. And what we're wanting to focus on particularly is with home education, Twinkl and home education, because I think a lot of us have already discovered how useful the resources are, but perhaps if people who aren't getting the most out of it that they would like. So I know, I think you've got a bit of a presentation, right?
No, sorry.
Okay. So we're just chatting. That's fine. That's fine.
I wasn't sure. Well, I was going to show people a few things on the website and talk a little bit about what we have, if that's okay. We could call that a presentation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to hand over to you for a bit then, and then we'll come back to anything that's left out.
Sure. Well, I'd like to. Can I also just introduce Chrissy, who is here today from the home ed team.
I'll add her here, and I'll take myself off for a bit.
Chrissy's come along with me. And Chrissy is one of our Home Ed team members. She's actually a video content creator. So she's just going to help me talk through some of the things we do just to provide a different voice. So as I get going, Chrissy, do feel free to jump in if I've missed anything, which I probably will, and then talk a little bit about some of the other aspects of what we do. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen here. So yeah, so the first thing I was going to talk about is, I guess, what we do in terms of, I think you touched on it at the beginning in terms of home ed communities. So we do see our role as going beyond just the resources on the website. And we're very interested in developing a community around Twinkl resources, because again, just to repeat, we really do value that opportunity we've got to help home educating families, and we do see this as part of that. So we have very active communities on social media. So the reason I've got the Facebook page up is just to show that that's one of the things we've got available. We link new resources on here. We also have initiatives which we run on social media. So yesterday was a really good example where we're currently sort of running an initiative about the Amazon rainforest linked to one of our resources, but we're providing much more than the resource. We provided a live lesson yesterday on our Facebook page, which was really well attended by over 100 home educating families. And it was actually Chrissy that ran that lesson. So that's well worth mentioning, because that is there for people completely free and independent of Twinkl. We also have an Instagram channel, which is great for sort of ideas for home educating families to take, and inspiration, and people like to share the things that they've done via Instagram. Just going back to Facebook, what I'm not showing you because it's private is that we have a group with almost 20,000 members, which again is another place for support and inspiration, and just home educating families connecting loosely around the sort of central premise of our resources. We've also got a YouTube channel, which I hope you're seeing now, of which Chrissy is one of the video content creators. And on the YouTube channel, we are offering all sorts of things, from just videos of home educators talking honestly about, things that have gone well and not gone well. We have videos which are aimed at people starting out on their home educating journey, just to help them along the way. We have videos helping people to plan units. And then we've got kind of videos aimed at kids where they could do something and kind of work along with the video presenter. I don't know if I've given that a good enough sort of overview, Chrissy, or if there's anything you want to add to what we do on YouTube.
I think that it's an ever-changing picture as well. Me and the other two video content creators really kind of work hard to get new content up every week, and we look at what is, I think the Facebook group is a really great area for support, and we very much listen to the community, and sort of, for example, lots of people were interested in morning baskets and how you could use morning baskets as part of your home ed journey. So again, we kind of use that as a means to create a video to offer that support. And also we work in partnership with Exploring Nature with Children, and we every week release videos that go alongside that you can use with your children. And yes, there's lots of supportive video content for new home educators and current home educators that maybe want a little bit of extra support, but also there's lots of content for you to do alongside your children as well. So it's a great resource, I think.
I think it's a really good point that we really feel like we work in conjunction with our members. We're not kind of making stuff and hoping they find it useful. We're talking to them all the time via these social media channels and finding out what would be most useful for them, and then assisting in whatever way we can to bring that to reality. So
a question just popped up about, is the content the same on Facebook as it is on Instagram? So Instagram shares lots of our initiatives and lots of our resources and reels as well. So it is a port of call for that. So you would do fairly similar things on the Instagram as you would on the Facebook page. But obviously what the Facebook does have is the Facebook group, which is a private group and offers you the opportunity to share your questions and your worries, get other people's ideas, even silly questions, well, you might think were silly, but there was one yesterday about, I really need a globe, where can, what globe could you recommend? So it's all from that to, can I have support on helping my reluctant writer, and the community really helped to provide support for that. But yeah, they are slightly different, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can just go further into it in our Facebook group. It's a wonderful place. It really is. It's kind of, we've really built it up, put a lot of time into making it a really positive, supportive place. And people share anything and everything and ask anything and everything. And this one here is a good example. So here on Instagram, just the virtual Amazon initiative that I was talking about, all we can really do on Instagram is just set out what that's going to be. But over in the Facebook group, there's all sorts of sharing, people sharing the dioramas, people sharing that they've decided to do this recipe based on the project, asking where they might find this and that. So yeah, I guess the Facebook group just goes deeper. Hopefully that answers that question. So yeah, I was just going to take you over to the site now. So this is the Twinkl website, and I'm sure we've got maybe some people that haven't seen it at all. Perhaps some of you have visited previously. The first thing to say about it is it is huge. I think at the last count, it might look a little bit more like this when you first go on. I think at the last count there were something like 800,000 resources on the site, which is staggering. It's obviously a real strength. It can mean that, it's not necessarily always the most straightforward to navigate. So what I'm going to do is just pick out a few things that, might help you to see what we offer for home educators. So we do have a home page on the site, which is here. And this is where we've gathered together things that we think are particularly useful for home educating families. So I'm just going to show you one or two of the things that are really popular with our home educating families, with the caveat that this is obviously just the tip of the iceberg. And one of the things that we find our Twinkl members like to do is just keep exploring and keep finding new things and keep finding things that they didn't know they were getting for their subscription, because I think one of the most unique things about what we offer is just the huge value in terms of what you get for just that one subscription. So at the top here, we've got a section on lap books.
Can I just jump in quickly and just say the other thing is the fact that we write resources for our members as well, which I think is a really powerful thing that, as a company, if there isn't anything out of all of those resources, there's something specific that you want as part of your home ed journey. We also, are writing our own content and listening to those members, which I just don't know any other resource company out there.
Well, I mean, as soon as you've mentioned that, Chrissy, I could take people to this section here, which is reached from the Home Ed homepage, which is called Have Your Say. So these resources we have made as a result of holding votes in our Facebook group for home educators to vote on what would be the most useful resource for us to make next. So we've got all sorts of stuff here that you would not be on the site were it not for home educators. So we've got nature ID guides. We've got stuff for learning times tables that encourages activity. We've got history mysteries there. We've got CSI investigations, which are hugely popular with our home ed members. The idea of this is you take a kind of mystery or an unsolved kind of phenomenon, and then lots of different sort of evidence is presented to the learners taking part in the experience. They kind of spread it all out. Imagine like a detective's wall, with possible explanations and links and kind of dates on timelines and things like that. And they kind of look at all the evidence and analyze it and try and decide whether there's any truth or put forward a theory as to what happened and why. So this example here is the Loch Ness Monster. So yes, this I think Have Your Say section kind of personifies the way that we try and listen to what people want. And there's all sorts to explore there. I could kind of talk you through it, but it might take all day. So it's something that you can explore when you get your access later on in the call. So yeah, just going back to the homepage. So I was going to mention lap books, because one of the things that I think that we are quite proud of as well is it's possible for home educators who have all sorts of different approaches to home educating to access Twinkl and find something that's useful. So we do have kind of resources that suit those that take a more formal, structured approach. And I think Chrissy's going to do some talking about those sorts of resources in a second or two. But if you're a family who kind of are a little bit less unplanned or follow your children's interests, things like lap books can be fantastic. So these are kind of just projects within a resource, basically, if you're not familiar with them, where you kind of piece together things on an opening folder to make a record of your learning about a particular topic. So we've got all sorts of ones here, and we're adding new ones all the time. We do find that our maths mysteries are really, really popular with our home educating families. So this is something where, just see if I can open one up actually and give you a look at it. This is a type of resource where there is a list of suspects, and let me just shift that up there if I can, a list of suspects who could have committed a crime, which you get at the beginning of the resource here. And then by solving a series of maths puzzles and problems, you eliminate suspects until you're left with only one that is therefore the culprit and the answer to the mystery. And we get all sorts of feedback about those resources, that it's the only maths my child will do, or my child doesn't even realize they're doing maths type thing, and they're really popular. A couple of other types of resources I was going to point out were the learning passports that we have on site. So just sort of, we picked out an Egyptian one a minute or two ago, and we have a learning passport that matches up to the Egyptians. Was it on the other page? I think it was on the other page. And this sort of resource is pretty much an open-ended one, ideal for sort of project-led or child-led families. So if you decide, or your children decide there's something they're interested in learning, you can grab yourself one of these, and what it will do is it will break the topic down into areas you might wish to study. So you can see it's kind of doing this with the ancient Egyptian history. And then it becomes a sort of threefold resource. So you can use it to plan your topic by making sure you cover these areas. You can use it to, jot down anything you learned or any notes on each individual aspect. And then you can keep it as a record, should you be in a position where you need to sort of demonstrate any of the learning that you've done at home. This can become a record of what you've done. So there are different ways to access the resources on Twinkl, and as I said before, we're never going to be able to show you everything in this short amount of time. But I think the main advantage that we've got is we have all of the resources that were made with schools in mind, which are still entirely usable for home educating families. And now more and more we're layering on these home ed specific resources, because we're finding out what people would find useful, and we're able to make it. So I guess the way that most people access resources on Twinkl is via our search bar at the top here. So if we search for something like Egypt, in keeping with what we've looked at previously, I mean, the array of resources that you get is kind of staggering. So there's just so much to look through, whether you're coming at it from just wanting a quick thing or wanting to put together a project. You can refine your searches if you're looking for a particular type of resource. We have a function here called the planner tool, whereby you can sort of save resources into lessons. You can right click on your resources and save them for later, so you can build up banks of there it is, so you can build up banks of resources that you think might be useful to use in any particular topic. And yeah, I think, you know, it just goes back to that wealth of material that we have, that it's, you know, very, very difficult almost to not find something useful on Twinkl, whatever it is your children are interested in. So there's a little bit on, you know, how our website might suit a sort of project or child-led family-based family. Chrissy was just going to talk a little bit about how that might differ if, or the different types of resources that are available to families that are a little bit more structured in their approach, and if they're interested in following the curriculum at all, what we might have that would be useful for those families. Is that okay, Chrissy? I need to swap sharing.
And I
Can you switch me off sharing again, Juliet? Thank you.
Right, let me just move this. Can you see my screen now? Or
yeah,
it's just loading.
Yeah.
So one thing I think that often comes up is the overwhelming amount of stuff that Twinkl has. And so I was just going to jump on and talk a little bit about Planet. And Planet is a product that basically is a completely off-the-shelf curriculum. It has been mapped to the English National Curriculum and the Scottish Curriculum for Excellence. And I think actually it's a really, really good product for home educators to use, even as part of project work. You can use it if you were just going to say you don't feel very confident delivering some science, then you could just use it for science. Or if you really do want to follow quite a structured approach, then you can follow it for all of the subjects. So for example, if you look at history and we just click on Key Stage 1, and this is just obviously for the primary curriculum, we do have Beyond, which is for secondary. You have then here all of the different topics that you can click on. And then if you decide that we're going to do the Great Fire of London, then you can see that it has the unit pack, which you can download, and it has all of the lessons that you could need. Or alternatively, if it's something specific, and I think this is for us how I find it a lot easier to navigate Twinkl. So if my child is particularly interested in the Romans, rather than searching in that toolbar for the Romans or the Great Fire of London or whatever it is, I actually find I come to Planet first. And so you can see that you have each of the lesson packs, so that if you wanted to just do something specific, or if you want to do the whole unit, and there is a planning overview. So if you click on the planning overview, which is always really, really useful, and you download that, then it comes, that's not very helpful, that's going to come up with a thing. But if you do the planning overview, then what you get is you then get the planning overview and then each of the lessons in a pack. So I think that that is a really, really useful way. It has the resources that you can use and it has the lessons. And I think that sometimes home educators, they see things like success criteria and lesson plans, and they get a little bit sort of panicked that it seems a little bit too classroom based. But actually I always start with a lesson presentation, and I look at the lesson presentation and what it is that is being done. So this one is the Great Fire of London. It has in pupil or child speak the sort of skills that are being done, and then you can just sort of go through it and work out, you know, is this suitable for my child? And it's really, really helpful, I think, for providing a little bit more of a structured approach. To support with that, we also have created a curriculum for home educators, so that you can download this from the Twinkl website. And if you say, so my eldest is year 4, and we were going to look at something to do with English and reading, it shows you for each of the terms the different things that you could be doing. And it does this for all of the particular subjects, which again is a really good, useful thing. I find it quite useful just to even get ideas of, you know, setting projects of things that we could do. So there's the Romans, for example, that I was just talking about, and this is all hyperlinked. So if we were going to, this was something that took our fancy in that particular period of time, you can click it and it goes straight through to those lessons that you can, again, just pick and choose. If you look at that planning overview, and it shows you all of the different things that is included in each of the lesson packs. And then you can do a bit of a pick and mix approach, or you can, as I said, run through it in turn, each of those sessions. And I think it's a really helpful way when you're starting off with Twinkl, of trying to work out how to kind of have a little bit more focus rather than being really overwhelmed by the search engine. And also, once you start delving into things, particularly with things like maths, if you are quite project-based and sort of a bit of pick and mix, then there's even things like with maths, for example, if you know, Alastair was talking about the maths mysteries, we have these in each of our Maths Planet packs. We have these things that you can download, which are kind of, again, mysteries where children work out a problem, and they can do it at various levels, and it's called Solve It. So it sets a problem. This is for Key Stage 1, Year 1, and it sets a problem, and the children can work out the answers to the problem. And also there's lots of challenge cards as well, which I find, because if I sit down and try and do things that are structured with my son, it really switches him off. But things like this, which you can just print off and have in a basket or have on the table, and again, without really thinking about it, you can get the children really involved in certain things. So I think that if, you know, when you start to look at Twinkl and you feel a little bit overwhelmed by the searching and not sure where to start, then I definitely would say that Planet is the place to start, because I think that it's a really good way of trying to get a little bit of focus into what you're doing. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Alastair.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great introduction to Planet. Yeah, obviously the thing with Planet is it's just there for you. There's no thinking required. Once you get used to using it, it literally is an off the peg curriculum, and it's another sort of example of the great value you get just for one subscription. And for people that are interested in staying close to the curriculum, as we know some home educators are at various points of their journey, we do have curriculum overviews and kind of tracking sheets and things where they can mark off their progress. So yeah, I mean, I did sort of say earlier we could keep going all day, but there are a couple of other things that I do want to show everyone, if that's okay. Juliet, are we all right to keep?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm actually quite fascinated. My children are older now, but
yeah.
I didn't actually know, you know, that you had these other ways of approaching the site. You know, I've always just done a search and then download, print off, whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, that's useful enough. But I think when just looking at your Planet and you know, the other ways of coming at it, I think is really, really useful to get. And this is actually why I wanted the session.
Sure.
Is to actually, how do you get the most out of your subscription?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Somebody's just asked, if you don't have a printer, are there resources that you can use on the Twinkl site? So that are
there are, yeah. I mean, a lot of you know, the teaching material, the learning materials are PowerPoints. So obviously you can go through those on screen without the need to print them off. And then I'll just share my screen again if it works, and show a couple of other things as well. Is that coming up okay?
Yeah.
We have a whole section of the website called Twinkl Go, which is our interactive section. So just kind of following on from the things that you don't need to print. There are maths games, there are interactive word searches, there are, you know, all sorts of things that just play out on screen, basically ebooks and so on. And increasingly, because it's something we get asked about, just our regular resources on the site. will often have sort of interactive PDFs that go along with them. I think it's kind of, there's a general sort of move towards, you know, using less paper and less sort of physical resources where you can. And certainly that's something we're really interested in sort of helping with. So you'll find lots of material on site that you don't need to print. I was just going to pick out a few other things that people might be interested in. So another one is book club. So if you do ever sign up to Twinkl as a member on the top package, which is called our ultimate package, you are able to enroll in what we call book club, which means that you actually get a physical book posted out to your home address 6 times a year. So this is something that is particularly popular with our home educating members, because you know what's nicer than receiving a book in the post? It's obviously exciting, and then of course we have lots and lots of resources and activities which follow on from your reading that we host on the site. So that's really worth everybody knowing about, and hugely popular with our home educating members. Then if I just go back to the home page, I can show you that the home ed homepage. Sorry,
screen, Alastair, because funnily enough, my son was reading one of ours. So they are really lovely books, and they have lots of amazing activities that go alongside them as well, and they are absolute favourites in our house.
Yeah, and of course you can fit them into any topics you might be doing. So a really good example is the virtual Amazon topic, which we've kind of launched just this week. There is a book on Twinkl called Rainforest Calling, which is like the perfect companion to that topic. So it just gives you another kind of area of focus within that. So there's the Twinkl Go thing that I mentioned. There's the quick link to Planet, which is the curriculum scheme that Chrissy was explaining. This is Newsroom, again another really popular product with our home educating members, because basically you have a child-friendly news story each and every day. So today they've run with the, I mean, this is amazing. This I actually saw this ichthyosaur dinosaur skeleton that's been found, the largest one ever. So this is a way that a lot of our home educating families like to start the day, with a newsroom story, and there are comprehension questions for each of them if that's something people are interested in. But what our home ed families often find is, you know, how can you read about something like that and then not want to find out about, you know, other kind of dinosaurs from around that time, or what the previous biggest one is, or what the biggest one found anywhere. So a lot of people use this as a kind of jumping off point into just further points of interest and research. So again, that's something that you might not realize that we have. And then there is a little bit of a perception that obviously because Twinkl began as a sort of Key Stage 1 concern, that, you know, perhaps it's a primary only resource provider, but that is not true at all. And the beyond area of the site is where we host our secondary resources. And increasingly we're finding home ed families that, you know, have secondary age learners getting all sorts of value from our Key Stage 3 and 4 resources. Again, we have some maps and some curriculum maps, which are helping people to know what to study and when to study it. And yeah, just that's proving a really useful area of the site for families that kind of bridge over, you know, different sort of school phases as well. So yeah, so some more things there that I just wanted to point out. I mean, it's hard to know where to stop, really. We also have apps, educational apps. All of the books, the originals books that are sent out via book club are also available on an app where children can sit with them on an iPad or whatever and read them off the screen or listen to the audio versions. We've got phonics and spelling apps. We have coding apps. There's all sorts to explore and discover there. So I think, you know, that was pretty much everything I was going to show on the site. But I was also going to mention that, I guess, another example of how we value home educating families as customers and understand the unique situation a little bit is that we do offer home education discounts 3 or 4 times a year, where home educating families can buy subscriptions at a 25 to 30% discount on the usual price. And this is something that's become, you know, relatively well known in home ed circles, and is another way that we can help. And also increasingly, we are looking for, you know, partnerships where we can offer more value via linking up with other companies. And a good example is the Amazon thing that we're running at the moment, because we've linked up with a company called Paw Print, who make beautiful embroidered badges. And so we have a resource here. I was hoping the badge would come up actually, but it hasn't. Let me see if I can find it somewhere else. I might be able to find it on the Paw Print website actually, because the idea is you complete our resource, and in completing our resource, oh sorry, I've done it in the wrong place. By completing our resource, you earn the badge, which is available through Paw Print. And this is just sort of something that we've, you know, become aware that people find useful, is just being given some direction sometimes, because I think sometimes a thing that can be difficult for us as home educating families when we've got that freedom is, you know, what do we do with it? Where do we take it? What direction do we follow? So with things like this virtual Amazon adventure, here's the badge here on the Paw Print site. We've taken something that we think will be high interest and relevant in terms of this topic, and we've made resources that will enable learning about it, and supplemented that with live lessons, and then just a whole sort of community awareness around it on our social media channels, to really give something for home educating families to get their teeth into. So yeah, I'm going to stop now in case anybody has any questions, I think, unless Chrissy, there's anything else obvious that I've missed.
Sharing?
Only that it's,
yes, you can end my sharing. Thanks, Juliet.
Only that it's incredible value for money, and I think there's so many things there. And even if you just tap into, I mean, we use the book club, and you know, a few bits and bobs for humanities-based projects. And you know, the support from the Facebook group that we get for ideas. And I think, you know, you don't necessarily have to use all those things to feel, you know, it's just so big. And you know, it's an incredibly supportive company, and the Facebook for home educators. And I think, you know, it can be as little or as much as you need it to be, really.
Yeah.
I see there's a question about the facility for a child to log in, and I know in all your navigating, I did see a child log in, like a kind of a little window at some point. Am I right?
Yeah.
So can they log in themselves?
They can. So with the Go resources, which I showed quite briefly, what you can do with those is you can set up what's called lessons. So if you want to give one of your children something to do independently, you can grab sort of, you know, however many of those resources you want, and bundle them together into what's known on the site as a lesson, and then generate a code, and then the children can just go on to the link that they need to visit, put in that code, and then they can just sort of play those games basically, or do those activities that you have set them. And you can also do that by utilizing any of the other resources on the site as well. So you can put together a kind of you know, whatever, a day or a week's worth of content for them to access via that special code. So yeah, it works quite well like that.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I mean, it all sounds amazing. I just say I wish I wasn't kind of on the tail end now, so to make use of it all. What I'd also like to find out is, so you've got different kinds of subscriptions. I know some stuff is free, but perhaps you can talk through some of the different options.
So we have 3 levels of subscription. We, you know, absolutely welcome free members, and we have a weekly newsletter which is sent to all Twinkl members, from which you can download a weekly free resource. So there are lots of ways you can get value from it without paying anything, and lots of our resources are free. If you get interested and decide you want to subscribe, you can do that either via monthly or annual payments. And we have 3 levels of subscription, which are core, extra, and Ultimate. So if you take out the core subscription, obviously it's the cheapest, you still get access to the vast majority of our 800,000 resources. But what you don't get is access to some of the products that we've picked out today. So things like Newsroom and The Planet come in at different levels of subscription. So when you have core, you have most of the things on site, but not all of those products. When you have extra, which is the middle level, you get access to some more of those, and then when you get ultimate, you have access to absolutely everything on the site, including membership of the book club and the physical books posted out to you, if that was something you're interested in.
I was going to ask, if you could break down the costs of all of those, but I mean, I'm sure they can go and look on the website as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can do that. So I'll just refer to the website to make sure I don't get anything wrong. So Ultimate is $9.99 a month if you want to pay monthly. So that's for everything. If you want to pay annually, it is £101.88 per year. But we actually offer a subscription to Ultimate, yearly subscription to Ultimate at just £70 during the home ed discount, which is just over £5 a month, including membership of that book club. So it's
19p a day.
Yes, we worked it out. It's 19p a day.
Yeah, we have a question. Is that per child or per family?
Per family.
Because of the way you access resources on Twinkl, there's just one login and you just download what you want or use what you want. It's just a one payment per family, so not per child.
It sounds like exceptionally good value to me anyway, if you're really making good use of the site.
I mean, we think so, because it contains so many different things under the one umbrella, and as home educators, we know that costs do add up. They certainly do for us in terms of what our kids get up to. So if we're able to help by offering lots for relatively little like this, it's something that we're pleased to be able to do, really.
Yes, and then we have a question about the planet. Is that part of the ultimate pack? And I would assume it is, since that's your
so if you take out ultimate, you get absolutely everything. So yes, 100%. You can get planet just with an extra subscription, so it does come with extra as well. Extra is the middle level of payment, and so if you wanted to take that out as a monthly thing, that's just £7.39 a month. When we run our home ed discount, extra is just £55 for a year.
Yeah, sounds like really good value to me, and I think that those who've been listening and everything will agree with me on that. Okay, so at this point, if there's anyone who has any other questions,
I've just popped also in the chat a link to the Home Ed Academy, which is a YouTube channel that I'm just currently populating, of how to use particular aspects of Twinkl as a home educator. So there's a series of videos there on how to use Planet as a home educator and how you could use it as, dependent on your home ed style. So yeah, that's helpful to people too. Then go and check that out.
That's very helpful. So does anyone have any questions? Okay, it looks like that's it, I think. So Matt asked
the question that's just popped. I see a question that's just popped up about is there a learning portfolio for children on the website that captures their learning?
We don't really have anything that ticks that box exactly. As is a really good suggestion, and certainly something we get asked about quite a lot we see the question quite a lot in our Facebook groups. How do I document what we've done and so on? What we do have is we have kind of planners and planning performers and reflections on a home ed day, kind of resources like that you could use in lieu of something sort of digital that you drag things into, or something that worked like that. So it's definitely something of interest to us and on our radar, but at the moment it would be a case of putting something together using some of perhaps the sort of paper-based or pro formas and sheets that we do have on the site. Yeah.
Would Planet not sort of allow to show, like a way of showing what they've done?
Well, not really, because I mean, you could, you know, we have a checklist. We have, you know, the document that Chrissy showed earlier that has all of the units out in a suggested order. You know, you could tick those off and add notes onto it. But as it stands at the moment, we don't quite have that sort of piece of digital software that would, you know, make that a simple process or a non-paper based process.
Yeah, so something for the pipeline, right?
Yeah, really interesting idea.
Yeah. So I just want to thank you both for joining us today. It's actually been, I've found it really quite educational myself. And, you know, we just appreciate you sharing so much. As I said, I'm sure anyone that's watching this is going to really appreciate finding out the benefits of Twinkl and, you know, how as home educators we can get the most out of it. For me, that was just the biggest thing was actually, wow, you know, there's actually so much more than just printing out the stuff. So
yeah,
I'm actually really glad we did this so we can share that with others.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having us. It's been wonderful to come along and talk about some of the things that we can offer. We really do think that you know, we can help a lot, and like I say, it really is what motivates us at Twinkl Home Ed. So hopefully people have seen something of interest.
Yeah, we've got some thank yous popping up in the chat as well, and we will be making this video available to be for people to come and watch later who haven't been able to be with us today.